Thank you for subscribing my channel. Please subscribe and like. Now back to the news. This is the horrifying moment. A grandmother's beloved cocker spaniel is mauled to death by two Chinese fighter dogs, which are owned by the local mayor, who has yet to apologize for the vicious attack. Annette Edson watched on helplessly as her arthritic pet Abby was knocked over by the beasts, twice her size, which she says were running unleashed and uncollared in a local park in Worksop, Nottinghamshire. The two Shar-Pei hounds bred in southern China as guard dogs attacked terrified Abby, as her owner desperately tried to fight them off. Traumatized Abby was pinned to the ground and frenziedly mauled under her belly as she was laying on her side. While the animal didn't die during the attack, her injuries were so severe, and she was in such deep shock, that a vet recommended putting her to sleep shortly afterwards, which a heartbroken Mrs. Edson and her husband Colin agreed to. The two attacked male dogs, thought to be called Jed and Walter, are understood to belong to Maria Charlesworth, who stood down as mayor of Worksop on Monday. She is also councillor on Labour-controlled Bassetlaw District Council, and her husband David. Mrs. Edson, 57, claims the local politician had offered to pay the vet's bill, but is yet to apologise for the viscous attack, and has called on her to resign as a councillor with immediate effect. Sobbing as she recounted her nightmare ordeal to Mail Online, Mrs. Edson said, "It was just horrendous, and there was blood pouring everywhere." The dog lover, who had beautiful and perfectly behaved Abby for 14 years since she was an 8-week-old puppy, wept. She was terrified and was shrieking out in pain. Housewife Mrs. Edson, who sustained a finger injury as she attempted to save her dog from the jaws of the attacking animals, how the horror unfolded shortly after 8 a.m. She had been walking Abby and her 2-year-old spaniel pup Allie in the park right next to her home. She explained. Both dogs had collars on but were off the lead, and walked by my side as good as gold. We were on the pavement just walking onto the grass, and I let Abby run off for a wee. Suddenly I heard a woman shout no. And I could see a dog had come out of nowhere, off its lead, and had smashed into my Abby. It just swiped her to the ground, then another dog joined it. They were both twice her size and very strong aggressive. Abby has arthritis in her legs and is deaf, and I was holding my young dog with one hand, while I tried to pull the attack dogs off, but I couldn't. Mrs. Edson wept. I knew this would kill her. She's an old dog with ailments, and she was shrieking and screaming out in pain. One of the dogs bit my finger, but that was nothing compared to Abby. They were ripped at her stomach and bowels. It was frenzied, sustained attack which lasted 4 minutes. It was just horrendous, and there was blood pouring everywhere. The woman was shouting at her dogs, and the man, her husband, started kicking the hell out of them.